everybody, and welcome to Rewind, the show where we look back at the games industry's past as we build the game industry's future. My name is Chris Melisinos, and I'm the principal evangelist for the video games industry at AWS, and your host of Rewind, coming to you live every Friday at 3 p.m. Eastern, not 3 a.m., 3 p.m. Eastern. And make sure you hit the like, follow, and subscribe buttons on Twitch and YouTube so you know when we go live, and it really helps the channel out. Now, on this week's Rewind, oh my goodness, I'm so excited, I can't get the words out. On this week's Rewind, I'm going to dig into some of my favorite games on the 3DO interactive multiplayer system. This is a game system that came out in the late 80s, early 90s, and it really was trying to usher in the next era of multimedia entertainment. So we're going to go ahead and dig in and learn a little bit about the system. And well, look, we got about an hour here, so let's not waste any more time. Let's go ahead and jump right on in. And let me find that button, and here we go. All right, so the 3DO multiplayer system. This was released by Panasonic back in when it first launched, and this machine was the second most expensive video game system in history to actually come out. If you know what the most expensive one is, please go ahead and pop it in the chat. Let me know if you got it right. I figured what we would wind up doing first is taking a little bit of a look at the launch of this incredible system that was created by just some amazing people. Trip Hawkins, the founder of Electronic Arts, basically started the 3DO company after leaving EA. RJ Michael and Dave Needle, two incredible engineers that produced some incredible technologies in the 1980s into the 90s, including things like the Amiga, the Atari Lynx. In the mobile era, RJ worked on the Fat Hammer engine, and a whole lot more. So let's go ahead and take a look at what the 3DO looked like at its launch. So here's a little bit of the commercial launch of the 3DO, and bringing in a bunch of different partners: Matsushita, Time Warner, MCA, of course I always think Beastie Boys MCA, not that MCA, Electronic Arts, AT&T for some reason. Audio. And I can't hear the audio here, but you can. And I've already listened to this multiple times, so I'm just going to comment as you watch and experience audio, video, and 3DO. And that was why this was named such, right? It's the next evolution of media and entertainment. It wasn't audio, it wasn't just video, it was 3DO. And the idea behind the 3DO was to create a reference architecture that 3DO company could go ahead and license to other companies like Panasonic, like Gold Star, like Sanyo, and they could go ahead and create the 3DO multiplayers just like they would have a VCR or a cassette deck or a CD player. Remember, there were no DVDs during this era, right? So we were squarely in the cd-rom era of technology and games. And so they would license this architecture out, and these companies would build the players, and then 3DO would make the software and generate a royalty against those games being sold. And while this was good for 3DO, the player manufacturers, again, the Panasonics, the Sanyos, the Gold Stars, wouldn't join in those royalties. And that's why when the 3DO first released, and it was the Panasonic I think it was the ZR1, when that first released, it was about $800. And so at that time, I mean, that was just an exorbitant amount of money. It's still kind of an exorbitant amount today. We wouldn't expect to pay that for, a PlayStation 5 or anything else. But it went ahead and released, and it provided an experience unlike anything we'd experienced before. Right? Texture map, 3D graphics, really interactive sort of games we only saw in arcades or in very high-end systems. Scrolling graphics, super explosions, of course, all at a much lower frame rate than we would have liked, using textures and design that really cements this as a late 80s, early 90s, and actually it was 1993, 90s sort of aesthetic But again, it was still fascinating. It was still more impressive than anything we could really get at home, unless you were spending thousands and thousands of dollars for a home PC with, a big graphics card and a CD-ROM player, which again was really expensive at the time. So the 3DO was meant to go ahead and provide that next generation of experience into the home. You can see by the graphics that you saw there, again, they were really shooting for that next generation, that next era of games. And we're going to go through quite a number, and I'm going to try to rapid fire through quite a number of these games this afternoon. And you can see right here, and there's a drum track going right now, and it's going to show you all the different games that you could play at the launch of this. I also want to give a shout out to the channel on YouTube, Okiji Dragon, for this video. This is the only copy of this video that I could find, the 3DO update to. So check out Okiji Dragon's YouTube channel. So that was the 3DO experience. Now let's take a look at a couple of the commercials that launched this incredible machine. And again, think about the era in which this was created, right? And when this was launched, you can see that it is that MTV-esque hyper reality sort of future next generation sort of vibe that we had going on here. And man, they leaned hard into that aesthetic, right? There you go, the head rolling off.
From
Panasonic Real. And then, of course, what are you playing with? Are you playing with a video game system? Are you playing next generation? Or are you still stuck playing children's games on the Sega CD and Genesis and the Super Nintendo, which of course they refer to as toys? So let's jump into the hyper-realistic world of the 3DO. Yeah. And so again, and that was kind of the attitude of the time. That was the aesthetic of the time. That's the way they went ahead and presented these things. Also, you'll notice that it said Creative Labs there at the very end. And that's because Creative Labs actually went ahead and created a card that you can plug into your PC and actually play 3DO games on your PC through this card, right? That was, again, exorbitantly expensive. So I'm looking right here to Jetman81. I remember 3DOs in the 90s. It was 3 times too expensive for me. And also weird that there were multiple hardware manufacturers. So yes, like I was saying, back then, what happened was the 3DO company went ahead and made a reference architecture that then they would license to hardware manufacturers. And so they would manufacture the 3DO players just like they would a VCR or a cassette deck. And so that was the idea, was the 3DO company wouldn't actually make the players. Other manufacturers that excelled in hardware would create these hardware-based systems, and 3DO would provide the software. And there, yeah, it feels like, who wants the gold star 3DO? Yeah, that's a good question, right? Don't know who wanted the gold star one, but I had the very first Panasonic release, right, which was just really it was just something we hadn't seen before, something we hadn't played with before. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to first load up the CD that came with the system that kind of tried to show off what the 3DO was all about. So you went ahead and popped this into your 3DO and off you went. Yeah, I see Jetman81. Thanks a lot for the comments. I do appreciate it. Panasonic was quality in the 90s. Yeah, they were. Panasonic was really akin to Sony during that era and created, really awesome products. So here's the real sampler that came with the 3DO multiplayer back in the day. Ooh, let's jump in and see exactly what they're doing here.
The kitchen of the...
All right. I'm getting past that loading menu there.
Welcome to the real 3DO system. In all likelihood,
something you want to bounce your,
anything
your head to as you're listening.
In this section,
All
you'll
right.
get to know the real
Also, I
3DO
notice this is a
system.
little bit
You'll
out
learn
of
how to
whack,
get
so I am going
CD-quality
to
stereo
make a
sound
little
out
bit
your
of an
multiplayer,
adjustment here.
and how to use photo and music CDs,
with
as well as
the
3DO interactive CDs.
the screen, so
Over
bear
here
with
in
me
the screening
1
section,
minute.
You'll get a chance to see
There
the
we
latest
go.
interactive titles. Find out what the excitement is all about.
All right.
Finally, we've got a few fun things to get you started.
They sure
We
do
call
have a
them
few fun
diversions.
things to get us started, and they
If you
call
haven't
them
used the
a
real 3DO
diversion.
system
So
before,
let's go ahead
you
and
might
jump
wanna make it easy
into,
on yourself
I
by
don't know,
pressing
let's go
the
ahead and
A
jump
key now.
into the real
This
machine.
will take you directly into the
All right, the 3DO, the real machine. And what they did is, it's actually pretty cool because they created kind of a walkthrough environment that was all done in 3D. Oh, wait a minute. Why is that one not working? Let's see. Let's jump into screening and see if that's any better.
Welcome to the interactive screening. Here they are, rhapsodies and right hooks, and a few other things you'll never see the same way again.
Apparently,
These
you'll
are
never
among
see
the
these things
first
the
of a
same way,
new and
again. But we
exciting
did
art form.
see them actually
Each of the video
done
panels
much better,
before you
implemented much
represents a
more
genre of
effectively
titles that are
right
shipping
in your
now or
machines.
shortly will be. Let's take a look at one of them. First, you'll
So, I mean, you
notice
can
that
imagine what it was
move
like
around
moving
freely
from
by pressing the
a
directional tab
Genesis
left and
or a
right,
Super Nintendo into
and
the
backward
3DO
and forward.
and having a
look
3D
at the
environment that
sports
you could
window.
then walk around in. So here I am controlling where we're going to walk to. So let's go over and see. Let's see what Video CDs has to offer.
Soon, you'll be able to play 3DO video CDs, from children's stories to movies to your favorite cartoons.
Apparently
Take a
we
look in the
will.
diversion
Hell
section
yes.
for examples of this technology. Press B
But remember,
to
you know,
repeat or
we
C
hadn't
to
seen
back up.
full screen video from a CD-ROM based machine right before. And so this was all just super exciting, super new. And I just remember the first time kind of plugging this in. Yeah, VCDs were very cool in the 90s, right? The precursor to the DVD, right? So, but this gave you a little taste of what you could expect using the 3DO, maneuvering that 3D environment.
To see the sports titles, press A now.
All right, let's press A and see what sports
3D
titles have.
football.
3D football, which of course became Madden
PGA
football,
Tour
PGA Tour golf.
John Madden
Oh,
football.
there's John Madden football there.
True
That's
Golf
right.
Classic, Pebble Beach Golf Links.
And you can
ESPN
see the
Golf,
resolution on
lower
these
your
things
score
were
with
really,
Tom
really
Kite.
small, right?
ESPN Baseball, catching. ESPN Baseball.
All right, enough
ESPN
enough of that. So this
see
is
the sports
basically the
titles,
first,
press
the first experience you had when jumping into the 3DO. But what I'm going to do is start to play through the games that I first experienced them when I picked up my 3DO. So let's go ahead and ditch out of this game here. And let's go ahead and jump into the first pack-in game. And I remember seeing this game being played when I was in the mall, and I would see, the 3DO setup, that kiosk setup. And the very first game that I saw that just constantly played on loop was a game called Crash and Burn. And this was a game by Crystal Dynamics. This is when Crystal Dynamics really started to become kind of a household name in the games industry, and where they first started kind of cutting their teeth, honing their craft, was during this era, right? The 3DO multiplayer era. And what really kind of struck you when you were walking by, a store and seeing this on display was all of the full motion graphics that you saw. I mean, this was, again, as close as we got to doing real movies at home or real video. That was not a VHS cassette. Jetman81, did you tell the story of how you afforded a 3DO? So how I afforded my 3DO was I wound up selling a bunch of equipment that I had. I had this sound card that I'd saved up for months to go ahead and get for my PC. And I think it was, I can't remember if it was a Crystal audio card or something like that, but it was very expensive at the time. And I remember when I saw the 3DO came out, I was like, all right, I need to go ahead and get a hold of this because my PC can't go to do graphics like this and games like this. So I wound up returning that sound card to Babbage's. At the time, there was this company called Babbage's. Took that money, sold off a bunch of my other games, my other collection, basically whittled everything down. So I was stuck with the 3DO for a little while, right? And, you know, back in that era, when you don't have a lot of money and disposable income to go ahead and get everything you want to play, you start turning stuff in. And I remember I was on the fence about trading in my 3DO for a Sega 32X. Whole different story, but yeah. Babbage's. That was my move back in the day. Sell older hardware to finance the next thing. Yeah, I mean, the struggle was real. All right, so here's what happened. We're going to play Crash and Burn.
I love close-in combat. I've survived this long because I live.
And there you go. Each of the characters had a backstory, that full motion video that would go ahead and start and be played, and you'd listen to their story. And of course, it was absolutely ridiculous, right? Completely over the top. Let's hear what this guy has to say.
Myself how I can stand the senseless death and gratuitous violence in Death Drone. Then I get my winnings check and it all becomes clear. My favorite weapon is the missile. It's the long-distance stab in the back.
The long-distance stab in the back. Yeah, of course, right? Totally ridiculous. But we're going to go ahead and play. Let's go ahead and select this chap, the caretaker here, and go ahead and play this. Now, what was really interesting about this game was it felt like the first 3D game that we were playing, right? You'll see that the course was texture mapped, all the cars were texture mapped. But the interesting thing about this, what it was doing was streaming all of the graphics off the CD-ROM in real time, because the system just couldn't keep all of that in memory, which meant you could only drive in one direction. There's no way to go backwards in Crash and Burn, right? But again, this is the first time we're experiencing truly 3D race courses and combat racing. So let's go ahead and play through a little bit of Crash and Burn. And of course, we're still waiting for, the CD to load there. All right, you can see. There we are. Playing on the mighty 3DO Interactive Multiplayer. 3, 2, 1. And then we're going to go ahead and jump into the combat portion. And then, of course, the thing that surprised us was, bam, first-person view. Again, this is before the PlayStation. This is before the Saturn. The Jaguar was coming out at this time as well, but couldn't go ahead and deliver games like this. So when you take a look at the graphics here, everything is streaming off the CD-ROM in real time instead of being loaded into memory. But again, because it's streaming linearly off the CD-ROM drive, there's no going backwards. So you do have some weapons here that you can fire on your opponents with. It feels a little bit more slippery when you're on the ice. We'll go ahead and just play through one track here, right? And of course, this wasn't the best racing game on the 3DO, but it was the first one that most of us were exposed to. So, place yourself in that era at that time, right? Just really, really incredible. Jaw-dropping for the time. Frame rate still pretty sluggish here, but still a fun game. And I do believe that Mark Cerny, one of the greatest game developers, right, in the history of games. He worked, created Marble Madness when he was 17 years old while working at Atari. He worked on, my goodness, everything from the Sonic series early on to Crash Bandicoot and a whole bunch of games. And then, of course, over at Sony, developing the PlayStation 4 and the PlayStation 5, worked on this title, right? So, again, these leaders and these pioneers in that era were just trying to figure out how to best use this technology to create an experience we just didn't have at home. So this was Crash and Burn, and that's all you did. You raced around these loops. The tracks really didn't differ very much apart from layout, but most of the visuals kind of stayed the same. And it just kind of blew us away when we first saw this. So, all right, let's go ahead and jump into one of the best racing games, not only on the 3DO, but I think it's one of the best combat racing games ever made. And of course, that is the mighty, mighty Road Rash. Now, this game, which was done by Electronic Arts, really again took that combat right to the next level, and you're going to see exactly what I mean here. Jetman 81, yep. This would have been competing with stuff like Mario Kart and F-Zero in terms of racing games years before the PS1. Absolutely right. That's absolutely correct. And that was part of the problem. That was the advantage that the 3DO really had over those other systems, in that it could present a 3D look versus either pseudo 3D or a flat 3D or a flat 2D sort of experience, right? All right, let me go ahead and slide this down a little and readjust the top here. That's the other thing too. A lot of these games would change format and resolution and even aspect between these different systems. Yeah, Soundgarden. Yeah, so I hope, you know, the video doesn't get flagged for copyright, right? So we're gonna jump off of that. Road Rash. So if you've not played this on the 3DO, if you haven't played it 3DO, maybe not your fault because you don't have a 3DO, but you probably played this game on the Sega CD, or even, I believe, the PC. This game was just incredible. You'll see what I mean. We'll just go ahead straight into basic level, the city. They've had a lot of full motion video, front and back of the games. The audio was all fully licensed music as well. And like I said, I may get flagged for copyright, but we'll see. If so, I'm going to have to cut that out. Let me see here. Where is it? Okay. Is it this one? Wait, there we go. All right. Just need to get my bearings under control. So, again, 3D combat racing. Let me see. There's my punch. And let me see which one. Oh, damn it. I knew it. Gotta get over and grab that bike, get back up on there. You watch the scaling of the sprites, right? 3D environment with sprites, scaling for all of the environmentals, the racers that you're, or the cars and obstacles, kind of in the woods. Damn, that's right there in front. Oh my God. And I think you can run faster by slipping on the A button. Where is my motorcycle? And then you just hope the cop is going to get you. This has been some of the first inclusion of real licensed music from big artists. I believe so, right? I believe so. Though you've had things like rock and roll racing, but I'm not sure that was licensed music back in the day. There we go, little grunt. And hit the cop. Now, a cool thing about fighting in this game is that the characters that you fight all have a memory. So if you start beating up on a particular character, they'll get more aggressive, right, in the follow-on races. So they understood who they interacted with, how aggressive you were towards them, all that kind of stuff, right? All right, yeah. So I think it's the left shoulder button. Is the brake? Oh my God. Okay. See, now here's the problem. I am so. Oh God, man. I'm getting my ass handed to me today. And I'm going to probably get nabbed by the cops as a result. So, oh no, good. Because the bike was kind of far away. So I went ahead and hit that cop and basically knocked him off his bike. So they're going to be a bit more aggressive, right? As we continue to play this level. I mean, that was the most fun. Just sidling up next to somebody. Oh, look at that big ass jump. Lose a little bit of control of your bike there as well. Let's see, all right. It's running some people over well before GTA ever made its way on the scene. Or at least 3D GTA, right? We did have some 2D GTA stuff back in the day. Not quite, I don't believe this early, but within the same era. All right, now we got a good rhythm going here. They also had shortcuts and some of the other levels were branching paths too, which gave a little bit of strategy, right? That you made your way around those environments. And then what you would do is after you complete the race, when you're playing through kind of like the campaign mode of this game, you upgrade your bikes, you hang out at the bars, you find out gossip about the other drivers. When you go into, I believe it was in the restroom, you found this stuff out, and you're able to find out about the characters you're racing against. Okay, this guy. Sit. Oh no! All right. feel like the Burnout series was a success with Road Rash for sure. For sure. I think there's some of that in there. Definitely, definitely. Damn. All right. Damn. Oh my God. Yeah, I can forget just how floaty these controls were. I still have a little bit of time. I'm only in 8th place, so let's see if I can catch it. Boom. Damn. Cop's gonna get me at some point. There's just no way. My bike is completely trashed now. So it's why it says random play up on Twitch. Either I need to change that because but clear that this wasn't random play. This was 3DO, baby. Alright, let's just get to the end so we can see the end animations. Damn, I really did it in this one. The cool thing too is sometimes like that you kind of knock another player into a car or into an obstacle. Unfortunately, yeah, 8. So yeah, I completely bit it on this one, unfortunately. Unfortunately, yeah, complete bit on that. And so, but you still get an ending animation, and they're going to show that, oh, you suck, you didn't win. Yep, and there's a little kick to the stomach there multiple times, of course, right? This is that 90s aesthetic, this 90s era, right? Loser. Can you remember a game you ever played where it just called you a loser when you did that? I can't remember one. Let me go ahead and see if I can change this while we are playing. No, it is not going to let me go ahead and change that, unfortunately. But that's okay. That's all right. We're just going to still keep it going. So, hey, since Jetman81 is really you and me and a second person that jumped in, what game do you remember on the 3DO that you would like to go in and see? So I'm going to go ahead and close this game out, and then I'm going to go ahead and drop into, another game that was really hyped up, and one of the early games for this incredible developer was a game called Way of the Warrior. So Way of the Warrior was a fighting game that was doing things that really we only saw in the arcade, right? We had things like scaling sprites and scaling environments. It really followed the same type of display that Samurai Showdown and those series had. And of course, the entire soundtrack is White Zombie, which, there you go. And you can see this is a game made by Naughty Dog, right? Better known for the incredible games that they make today, but this was one of the first games that they created, and they were really kind of honing their skills. I believe all of the characters in the game were their friends, that they basically dressed up in cheap costumes. Everybody did fake kind of martial arts moves, but let's listen to a little bit of the opening here. It was that metal era too, right?
Versus mode.
Listen to that voice. Versus mode.
Select characters.
All right, so the character I'm going to play at is Shaky Jake. And let's see. Oh, did I choose 2-player? I may have chose 2-player. Let me get back there. So, yeah, versus mode, tournament mode, demo mode. Let's do tournament mode. There we go. All right, Shaky Jake. Shaky Jake is my guy. And listen to that, Rob Zombie singing.
For the last time, warriors have convened from all over the planet.
So these are all pre-rendered graphics, right? And again, remember, we haven't seen anything like this before. Super low resolution, not full screen, but we're still blown away by it. Right? Okay, here we go. I don't even remember what any of the buttons are, but here we go. We're going to jump in and find out as we go along. Oh, let me see. That's block. That's kick. Jump. And where's my hit? Come on. Stop the badness. There we go. Oh, well, help. It uses shoulder buttons to hit, too. Right? Which is ridiculous, just on its face. There we go. Low frame rate. But trying to do things that the system really wasn't designed to go ahead and do this, you know, we saw this stuff happening on in arcade games, specifically like Samurai Showdown, which I also have on here, and we'll go ahead and take a look at in a moment. This game really needed the 6-button controller that eventually you could get for the 3DO, but I'm playing in a 2-button configuration here. And you can see, I mean, this is pretty much, there we go, it is a button masher of a game, you know. I was never really good enough to, again, pull off any of the moves because of the jankiness of it. But there you go, that was Way of the Warrior. Fully scaling environments. They use digitized characters, much like Mortal Kombat. And, you know, again, in this era, this isn't what we typically saw. Let's go ahead and hit the demo mode and let them go ahead and play for a moment. Let's see. Here we go. Let's see what they have to offer. Well, we grab a sip right here.
Demo mode.
Of course, why don't I go ahead and start the demo mode and not back out of it? That would be good. And here we go. All right, so we can go and watch this. Again, if you have a game that you remember playing on the 3DO, go ahead and pop it into the chat there, and I'll go ahead and fire it up as well. Nikki-chan, Konotori, right? The most stereotypical sort of fighters or characters that we had during that era. This is kind of the beginning of Naughty Dog on modern systems. So that was Way of the Warrior. All right, we're going to go ahead and jump into actually a really good side-scrolling game, which holds up really well today. Came out for a bunch of other systems as well, and that was Gex. So Gex was the closest thing that the 3DO really had to a mascot when they... when the 3DO first came out, and you'll see exactly what I mean. This was made by Crystal Dynamics, and we have a couple of Crystal Dynamics games we're going to go through here, including Total Eclipse and Off-Road or Off-World Interceptor. We're going to go ahead and take a look at those as well. But I mean, again, think about what it was like to hear that bombastic orchestral score being played through your family's hi-fi system at home.
It all started so simply. I had just finished my usual morning routine
fully animated,
of Funkercise,
3D,
fired up the Barca Lounger, grabbed a quick bite to eat, and prepared to watch some serious tube.
Some serious tube.
Little did I know,
That's right.
My snack was sent by Rez.
Oh no. Popular comedian Dana Gould did the voice of Gex here. Alright, enough of that. Let's jump right into the gameplay. So, the gameplay for Gex takes place across a variety of television-themed levels. So the first one is going to be a horror or monster-themed one. So we're going to go ahead and jump into that there first. And really good set of moves and mechanics to go and play with. Hidden levels, warp zones, all those types of things.
Color in his cheek.
All right, so here we go. You basically move in front of a TV to choose which one you want to engage it. Now, you'll notice that it's only one TV at the bottom that's animated, so you have to go through, clear out those levels, much like the later Crash Bandicoot games used, right? Or Hub World that any side-scrolling game. So here we go. So now we're in the horror levels, and there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 different levels you complete for the horror themed level. So you have a hub. Inside of the hub, you have to find these remote controls and get out of the level, and the remote control lets you open up the next level here. So you can see fully 3D rendered character. He's got a tail whip. He's got a jump there. No time limit, which is good. The screen tried to scroll smoothly, but you know, it's a little bit janky, but here was the cool trick is that Gex could go ahead and climb up walls to find different areas because he's a gecko, right? So he can go and attach himself to walls and do all that stuff. Let me climb up here and see if I can grab those flies. There we go. And you can tail stomp. Right, so it's using the same type of graphics that Donkey Kong Country did, right? Where they went ahead and... Oh, can't lick him, you gotta hit him. These graphics were pre-rendered by a computer much more powerful than the console in which it was being played. And so it looked a lot more powerful than it actually was. And you can also see it's got really good, parallax scrolling in the background there. So can I get up there? Yeah, so I can slide down here into this hidden level, and you'll see there is the warp level. So you can go in here and get bonus points, bonus flies, I should say. And of course, you know, he's cracking Ys the entire time that you're playing through it. Yeah, I don't know why the random play popped up for today's episode, but it shouldn't have. Yep, there we go. We'll go ahead and jump back in. We'll go ahead and kind of complete this level out. So, but you'll notice too, it has really good audio because why? It's streaming off a CD-ROM. And so this is something that, you know, the Sega CD took advantage of. It's something that the TurboGrafx 16 took advantage of as well. You can see I can whip up or down to go ahead and avoid other obstacles that are at the ground level. Knock this down, kill that guy. I'll do the same thing here, kill that guy. Oh, and I completely died there, right? So then it goes to TV, you know, black and white, and kicks you, bumps you back out. But I do believe that it will start me off back at one of the checkpoints, so I don't have to go all the way through the level. I think, nope, I lied, it didn't. It took me all the way back to the beginning here. So I'm not gonna go ahead and play through the whole thing, because we have a lot of other games that I want to cover. And also, the fact that we've got the wrong description here means people didn't know that we were doing 3DO, so damn it. We have to make sure that doesn't happen again. Actually, let me just continue going through this and see what happens. Let's get out of the way here. Oh, all right. You don't want to get caught by that. You want to jump. Oh, there and here and here. And drop down here and get up here. I'm so hungry. Let's go up here and see. So yes, you can jump up and then whip while you're in the air. To open that up. Yeah, there's another secret opening. Or a secret level. Warp level you need to go ahead and get to. Let's see. Up here, and I think, are we going to find a remote in here? Maybe not. Let's see. Let's see. Come on. And here we are, dropping down here. Nope. We're just gonna go ahead and complete the level out. And there's nothing up here, right? Nope, no hidden level up top like in Super Mario Brothers, of course. Let me go ahead. Come on, dummy. Yeah, the controls were a bit more finicky, right, back in the day for these games. Frame rate had a lot to do with it as well, because, you know, you're trying to account for that. So you saw how things, didn't scroll.
Holiday snap. Hey, Rigor.
So that is the save there. Let's go to jump here. You see, it's super colorful and again, still really an approachable game today. It's still a lot of fun to go ahead and play through. Definitely. All right, let's see. Can we get up here? And how are we getting out to the end of this level? And we'll drop down and get up here. And let's continue.
I'll take this and this.
All right, let's see. Love the 3DO. Yeah, I love the 3DO too. It really is an underrated system that had so much potential, but unfortunately, the price of it and the competition during that era, you know, it unfortunately didn't survive. And then the successor, the M2, never materialized. Well, actually, that's not true. The M2 actually went ahead and did make it into market, but not as a game console. Matsushita took the architecture for the M2, which was the follow-on to the original 3DO, and used that as an embedded system board for graphics and things like that in like digital signage and Coke machines and a whole variety of different things. So it still lived on, just not as a video game console. All right, so this was Gex. Again, great game. Now, because this was a system that was also doing full screen, or not full screen, but trying to do full motion video, they applied them in really different and unique ways. So this is a game called Twisted, which is a game show. And it was the closest thing we had to truly an interactive game show at home. And Justin Ark, thanks for popping by. Because, yeah, you're first time there in the chat. So anyway, you went ahead and played through this kind of, it's like almost a precursor to the Mario or the WarioWare type of games where you had all these different mini games you had to go ahead and play through quickly.
From the Velodrome, it's time to get twisted.
They are doing their best. I mean, look at this, to emulate a talk show or a game show from that era using old public domain movie clips.
Thank you. You are definitely the best audience.
I mean, that double-breasted suit, thin knot, wide tie era of the 1990s, really fantastic.
Thank you, Ray Stewart. He is really.
Now you have a whole announcer as well, announcing what's going on in the game.
Pleasure to introduce my exciting assistant, the lovely.
Let's go ahead and bounce past all of that. So here you go ahead and choose
Use the cursor pad to
the
select your
character that you
contestant,
want.
then press the A button. Press the C button after everyone has made
Let's
a
go
selection.
ahead and choose this crazy guy here.
Now, Wellington,
and,
how smart.
and
Will the
there we
next
go.
player please select a contestant? Press C when all players have made their selection.
Let's go ahead and choose this televangelist here.
Now,
We'll
Humble Howard,
also have him do
will
that
the
as
next
well.
player please select a contestant?
All
Throughout
right.
the game,
And there we go.
I
You have
will
two.
refer to you by your contestant's name. The object of
The
Twisted
contestant's
is
name,
really quite
not
simple.
by your real name,
Roll the
because of
cyber
course they
die,
couldn't do it. You roll
complete the
these
various
cyber
challenges,
die,
and get to the end.
pick the challenges, get to the
And
end.
what happens then?
It's still
Ray?
a super fun and highly
Well,
playable
Twink, our
party
lucky
game.
winner will receive a one-way trip out of this TV wasteland into whatever the hell's on the other side of the screen.
There you go, a little bit
Ooh,
of
I
cyber
hear reality
humor
is just
from that era.
beautiful this time of year. Well, gee, I can't wait to get going. Hannah, are you as excited as I am?
Great!
All right.
Now let's get twisted.
Twisted. All right, so here
Howard,
we go.
You're up first.
So you press the button to stop the
Think
die.
fast. You're on the challenge square.
Challenge square. And let's see what challenge we have here.
Take the controller and secretly select a row from the matrix. Now, Howard, take the controller and select a column from the matrix. Departure Lounge. Use the cursor pad and the A button to recreate the picture.
All right, so here we go. So you're basically just flipping the tiles. The good thing is you didn't have to try to maneuver them. You're just flipping them before the timer runs out. And there you go. You won the challenge. And they're throwing sass.
Well
You do
done.
everything else.
Keep
And you
going.
get to go ahead and roll again. And let's see what happens. I roll
You've
again. We'll
landed
just do
on
another
the
one here.
challenge square.
Another challenge square.
Wormington, take the controller and secretly select a row from the matrix.
Let's choose this
Now,
one.
Howard, take the controller and select a trivia. Answer all the questions correctly before time
Oh my
runs
goodness,
out.
let's see. Let's see if we can do science and technology. Oh, let's see what we can. Oh, what is the last one that has to be? Nope, it's element 109. I failed chemistry, so there we go.
Wormington, it's
and then you can go ahead and pass and play around the room, so you can see how much fun this actually is. You know,
think fast. You're
again
on
really
the
kind of
challenge
cemented in the era in which it was created, but still completely approachable and a ton of fun today. Let's try one more. Let's do double A and see what happens up there at the top.
Behold the items on the shelves. 2 of the items were not in the group. Select the item that was.
All right, let's see. And they have little video clips in there. All right, let's see. What was it? I think it was oh, no. Completely failed. But you get it. So that was Twisted. Again, a super fun game. If you have a 3DO or want to go and do an emulation, it's so much fun to go ahead and still play. All right, so let's go ahead and jump into another game on the mighty 3DO. I mentioned before that there were 2 games that really stood out along with Gex by Crystal Dynamics. And this one was called Total Eclipse. So, you know, we had Star Fox, and that was the first time we're really seeing, not the first time, but one of the first times we're seeing real 3D polygonal graphics, you know, on the screen. We saw a couple of other ones in, you know, similar type of games on the Genesis, but nothing really that could go ahead and really replicate the feel of the 3D arcade games we saw. This one, though, this one kind of did it, and it would do things like allow you to do a barrel roll for no reason. It didn't afford you anything. In fact, you would typically lose control of your ship if you went ahead and did it. But we're going to go ahead and jump through it so you can see just how cool this thing looked back in the day. So here we go. Let's go ahead and play a game. If you have a 3DO game that you remember fondly that you want to go ahead and see, go ahead and pop it into the chat,
Lieutenant.
and I'll go ahead and fire it up.
propaganda smoke in your face.
Look at these graphics. Right? Pre-rendered on another machine, tried to be bigger or flesh out the world, you know, better than it really could.
Our scouts have tracked the missile path back to a planet named Omega Nebula.
Wonderfully horrible voice
the first
acting.
mission will be to destroy those missile silos.
Got to destroy the missile silos. You know, it's typical, let's, you know, shoot at them sort of thing. So here we go. And let's see. All right, that's fire there. Oh. And the problem, again, with this was super floaty. So it's trying to do physics and all that other stuff. And it just really... It really couldn't. You see the repeating textures that they have there on the ground. And then you could, make the whole world rotate while you were playing, which again, would typically, like I'm doing right here, lose control. I couldn't even hit that ring. You lose control of your ship. It doesn't afford you any sort of benefit at all. It has that awesome hair metal guitar. So once again, a super product of its era. So this was Total Eclipse. Really just, again, half of it was you couldn't believe what you were seeing on the screen. The other half was you couldn't believe how bad the gameplay was, right? It was that era of gaming. You know, and once again, remember, this is before the Sega Saturn came out. This is before the PlayStation 1 came out. So this was the best. This is the pinnacle of 3D gaming, 3D graphics for that era of games. At $800, it was a lot to, you know, for people to go ahead and swallow, which is also why they leaned into the multimedia side of things. There's a lot of educational games. Actually, educational games done by Ron Gilbert. And Ron Gilbert is most famously known for doing the Monkey Island series of games. And he created games, I think it was the Putt-Putt series of games, because he wanted to create some educational games for his kids to be able to play, which is really awesome that he went ahead and did that. But yeah, here we go. And let's see, I think once we get into here, we shoot inside the planet, and now we're scrolling inside of this environment. And this is really where you needed to be able to roll your ship to get past some of the obstacles that are going to be laid out here. Let's see. Boom, that's one. Can we do that? No, no, there is no roll. That's right. No, no, no. Yeah, and it does get a bit frantic. So that was Total Eclipse on the 3DO. And then they went ahead and used the same engine to go ahead and create a game called Off-World Interceptor. So this went ahead and took you out of flying in space and put you on the planet's surface to go ahead and drive through and basically complete those same types of missions, blow a bunch of stuff up, you know, so on and so forth. So let's go take a quick look at Off-World Interceptor. And we'll go right past all of the opening screens there. There we go, Off-World Interceptor. Oh, I didn't want to go to the story, no. So instead of animated video, we have full motion video with two guys doing a mystery science theater type of teardown. So what was really great is they knew how bad these stories were, how bad the voice acting was. So they decided to just make fun of themselves by doing a mystery science theater kind of knockoff.
If he was the Crow, then he'd be dead already.
Who's here?
That was a good Crow reference too. Not Crow Robot, Crow, the movie.
Sanitary engineers.
Macho mercenaries.
Or that. You've obviously read our resumes.
What are you boys gonna learn?
Just terrible.
With biceps, and
what about
you can't
fancy
spend
footwork?
A bounty from a body bag. But in its infinite bleeding heart wisdom, the Geo Tribunal passes the bounty bill.
Apparently the Geo Tribunal passed a bounty on them too.
In all of Bronson's
You will be shown the whereabouts and profile.
All right, let's go past that. Let's go ahead and jump in and see what we need to buy an outfit. Let's exit that shop. And let's get onto the planet surface and play a little Off-World Interceptor. So you can see it is basically the Total Eclipse, but on the ground now, right? So instead of flying, we are just ripping along the ground, avoiding obstacles, blowing up those turrets, and still, you know, it's still a pretty fun game. Still better than Cybermorph was, right? On the Jaguar, although that one was pretty fun too, but. You can also see that, as I mentioned, when we were playing through Crash and Burn, because everything is streaming off the CD-ROM into memory, I can't turn around. You can't go backwards. So I'm pressing as hard as I can all the way to the right or left, and it's not letting me go around. So it felt like an open 3D world, but in reality, it was not. In reality, it was just streaming. You were just running straight through those obstacles. To go ahead and achieve the objectives there. So that is Off-World Interceptor. All right, let's go ahead and close that game out. Let's go pick another classic 3DO game. One at the time, one of the best versions of Street Fighter actually came out for the 3DO. A lot of people don't know that, especially if they never played it before. And you could send away to purchase a 6-button controller so you could actually go ahead and play it more effectively. I believe they also had another one that was a steering type of controller as well. I know that they also did that for the PlayStation. But look, this is Street Fighter 2 Turbo on the 3DO. It's got all of the same full screen kind of graphics and motion and kind of separation of the elements, right? Ryu there. Let me go ahead and get us past the opening. And by the way, I suck at Street Fighter 2, so I'm just going to be button mashing it. Am I using an optical drive emulator to switch between games? So I am doing this in emulation because number one, my 3DO is packed up and away right now, and number two, having to go and switch between all of them would just take too much time, right? So So we're doing it through emulation. Let's see, Street Fighter, I think this was the main place to play it at home. It was during that era. I mean, it was better than any other version that we had access to at home, including the Super Nintendo, including the Genesis. Come on, Dalstein. And come on. My goodness gracious. There we go. And I can't remember how, it's been so long since I played Street Fighter. This was never really my genre of game, but yeah, it was still fun to go ahead and play. And I think for me, when I first experienced this at home, it was just, hey, this is in the arcade. I can't go ahead and play this at home, so let me go and jump in and do this. Let's see, Justin Arc, yeah, the 60-bit console had Super Street Fighter, but not 2 Turbo. Yeah, that's true. Yeah, First Attack, there we go. Blanca is just a pain in the ass, too. If you ever played against him. How does Yoga Flame, let's see, can I still do Yoga Flame? Nope. The huge fighting game, Street Fighter 2 Special Champion Edition for the Genesis. Yeah, I mean, they were great games. It's just not one that I could go ahead and really play very well. I was really more of the action sort of player. I didn't play really fighting games, except for Virtua Fighter I did get into for a while. And what was the other ones I played? Well, Virtua Fighter was definitely the big one that I played. Mortal Kombat a little bit. I would always play as Raiden. I typically would play as Chun-Li here because, you know, her kick is just ferocious. The helicopter one. And yeah, the soundtrack in 3D is a great version too. Yeah, again, it's CD, right? So you had the best quality soundtrack you could possibly get for Street Fighter at home. All right, we're going to close out of that one, and let's see, we'll jump into one or two more. What is a good one that we should go and take a look at? Well, you know, one that has a really interesting background is Doom for the 3DO. This port was done by an incredible programmer named Rebecca Heinemann. She also is known as Burger Becky. And I forget the amount of time that she had to go ahead and do this port. I think it was something like, you know, 8 weeks or something like that. And so she went ahead and did the absolute best that she could to get Doom ported to the 3DO. And what you'll notice in this version of Doom, there are times when you'll hear the soundtrack speeding up and slowing down based on what we have going on the screen at the time. Like, it's just absolutely insane. And I don't even believe she had access to source code when doing this version of it. So let's go ahead and take a look at really super impressive for this machine to be playing. Listen to the soundtrack for Doom. Freaking awesome. What's the first thing that you notice on the screen there? It is a smaller postage stamp inside the middle of the game here. And look at this frame rate. So we'll see it as it's painting further into the distance, frame rate drops down. As fewer objects are on the screen, you'll see how much faster all of a sudden it moves. So you're constantly slowing down and speeding up while you were playing the game, which definitely made it a bit of a chore to go ahead and play. All right, let's rip up here and grab that vest. And the thing about it was, you'd be cooking along and you'd get some momentum behind you, and then all of a sudden you would come to almost a dead stop or a crawl, and so you're overcorrecting with the control pad, and then it would speed up and you'd blow past, what you wanted to go and shoot at. So, all right, let's get in here. Let's take. I'm struggling to turn right now to fire here. Look at this. There we go. All right, so there are the two. That was an extra fire or shot from my gun that happened after I'd already stopped firing because of the latency. And you can see, watch what happens when I get closer to the wall. Everything kind of, you'll see it speed up all of a sudden. And then when I turn around, you see the frame rate just absolutely tanks. And this was not the fault of Rebecca, right? She was putting something on this machine that the machine just really couldn't handle. And it's an absolutely massive accomplishment, actually, from a technical perspective. Certainly better version than the 32X or the Super Nintendo, but damn. play Doom. As a curiosity, this is great. If you want to actually play the game, there's plenty of other options for you to utilize instead. Let's just get to the end of that level. Oh my goodness, there we go. Woo, we went ahead and hit the end of that level. Crazy, absolutely crazy. All right, let's see. Let's go ahead and, you know what? It's Friday afternoon. Let's go squeeze another one or two more into gameplay here today. All right, if anyone has a game that they remember on the 3DO that they want to see, go ahead and pop it into the chat. Let me know if there's something that you want to see. Let's catch up here. I do remember now this didn't come to Super Nintendo Genesis. Yeah, it didn't. Jetman81 been hugely into fighting games since Street Fighter 2. Yeah, obviously, you know, it is the game that set forth the entire fighting game genre. Yeah, it was gnarly, man. It was gnarly, Jetman81. Okay, I've got actually another really interesting one. Actually, there's a couple of them. So the company Psygnosis, if you all remember Psygnosis, really incredible company. I have a couple of friends that work there that they're all still in the games industry, which is great. Psygnosis was huge in the Amiga era of video games. And they started producing a bunch of games for the 3DO. Well, not a bunch, but enough. And we talked about, like, this is the era of full motion video. This is the era of trying to do full screen, trying to go ahead and create different types of games we hadn't seen before. And they have a couple of games, Nova Storm and oh my goodness, what's the name of the other one? There's another one where you're flying through a body, basically. Microcosm is this. And so what we're going to see is using a game that uses full motion video for the background, using sprites for the foreground, to try to make the world feel bigger than it really was. We saw this in the Sega CD as well with games like Sewer Shark, or Lodestar, and where you're flying down these trenches. So this collision that is supposedly colliding with the video, but it's really not. And these games we saw really first being done in the era of Dragon's Lair, Astronaut's Belt, those sorts of games, and on the Pioneer Interactive, machine, which was a Laserdisc player that you would put a Sega Genesis or a TurboGrafx 16 module into. You'd put these giant laser discs down. It would just stream the background off the laser disc, and then use the Genesis hardware to paint the foreground, or the TurboGrafx to paint the foreground. And this is basically in the same vein. So they're getting a little better at full motion video sequences and openings and things of that nature. But you'll see what I mean when you get this kind of disconnection there. Dominic Mallinson, really good friend. Dom, awesome job there on these games from early Psygnosis. We're going to go ahead and jump right in. So here we go. We're going to start this game, and there's our ship. And let's make our way into the world of Nova Storm. Right, yeah, look at that. You got that ship rotating. Soundtrack was really good. I mean, and this would be completely at home, being played at a rave or something like that, right, during the 90s. And here we go. Dropping down to the planet, and, oh, you saw the little pause button that happens, because this is a multiplayer. So there we go. There is our 3D graphics being streamed off the disc, while these 2D graphics that don't quite match the same fidelity or crispness or vibrancy of the backgrounds being played over the foreground. Over the background rather, in the foreground. But still a really competent shooter. And the cool thing, too, is they would create these branching paths, right? I'm not sure if Nova Storm does that, but I do know that in Microcosm it did. So there'd be, a branching path that would happen in the video, and by moving left to right, it would play that version of the video track. So very much like Dragon's Lair, right? Where you just press the joystick, you move in one direction or the other, and it just plays the track that you're basically selecting. All right, so here we go. Let's see what the mothership looks like. And you'll see that I'll go and collide with the walls. Let's see. Oh wait, maybe it's in a different setting. And that screen rotation, so yeah, again, remember, oh, there's the enemy ship. Let's see, I'm gonna get my ass. Still a pretty brutal game. Oh, that's it. So that was Nova Storm. All right, and so then speaking of full motion graphics games, let's go look at the granddaddy of full motion video games. How about a little bit of Dragon's Lair? Let's go ahead and take a look at that, right? Because that was the game that basically set forth, full motion graphics, full motion video in the arcade. And then, of course, Dragon's Lair's made it to a whole variety of game consoles in a whole bunch of different forms, right? We've seen it on the Game Boy, the NES, Super NES, the Sega CD, the Coleco Atom. Like, Dragon's Lair has been in many, many different forms, but this is the closest that we actually had to what we remembered in the arcade, right? The full motion, full screen streaming of this. Oh, let's see. Where is it? Nope. Ah, terrible. Terrible. Let's see if I can remember how this one works. Here we go through here and... Nope, not hitting it in time. See, normally there would be a little sound that plays when you went ahead and pressed the right. And there, let's see, did I get it now? Nope, you see him keeps going for the sword and completely dies because I suck at Dragon's Lair. So let me go ahead and let's go pick a different one. Since that one is really not a good representation of what I loved playing on the 3DO. So let's go find one more. Let's go find, how about, I can't believe I totally forgot about this one. Return Fire. So Return Fire, this game still today is a complete banger of a game. It first, it uses all public domain music, right? William Tell overture, kind of all these things. Secondly, it is kind of a capture the flag style of game. You have different types of vehicles that you use that have different abilities, and when you play with two players, it becomes completely frantic, especially when you get the other person's flag and trying to get back to the base, and then they're just basically unleashing hell on you to try to stop you. It's still so much fun to play, and it made it to a variety of other consoles as well. Let's go ahead and we just got one player. Let's see what happens here. Let's see if we can go ahead and clear this out. There's our first map. And there we are, tapping our foot on the way down to capture the enemy's flag. So, the first one we're going to go and do is grab the tank. Always a good one to start out with. Got to find where the... and you do have full-on tank controls, right? So the controls change a little bit. And we'll have enemies that will be running around the screen as well. Where are we on the map? Right, I'm going in the wrong damn direction. And so that's the thing with having tank controls, right? Especially when you're scrambling to go ahead and get back to your base, it can get pretty hairy, pretty gnarly. Everything is destructible in the environment, so all the trees and things like that, right, are destructible. So here we go over into, I believe, the enemy's camp. And as we hit like the barracks, you see the guys start running out, and you can run them over or shoot at them. They're making their way into the water to try to escape you. Ooh, let's see. Let's see. Come on, get out of there. A tank has maneuverability issues, right? They are in the water trying to escape you. But what'll happen is they'll make their way back to land and start firing on you too. So it's a little crazy. Oh no! Oh, I went ahead. I wasn't paying attention. Fell in there. Let's go ahead and grab the helicopter and make way over. And this is, kind of reminiscent of like the Jungle Strike series of games or Urban Strike series of games. Piloting this with the helicopter, and you can use the shoulder buttons to rotate. And here we go. So what you have to do is you have to find where the flag is hidden on your enemy's base, and then go pick that up and bring it back home. All right, let's see. This is a tiny map. Where are they hiding? Let's see. Let's see. Let's try going up. Ah, here we go. Let's see. And so, yeah, part of this, right, is you're exploring the map, discovering the map. Let's see. There is another one of the buildings. And see, they're throwing grenades up at you, too. They have outposts there as well. I may be firing on my own crap. I don't know right now because I can't figure out where the hell I am in the map. All right, let's try coming up this way here. Nope. Nope, nope, nope. All right, does it show me the map? Oh, don't play it, do it. Oh, yeah, that's right. They also had an ad for joining the army if you wanted to do that too. Maybe one of the first games that we saw outside of the Just Say No. Okay, so it's got to be up here. So this is the only road that's making its way out. Let me see. This is probably my own. Ah, there you go. Okay, that was completely dumb. All right, so there's the, you uncovered the flag that you needed to go ahead and get, and then you go ahead and land there, because there's only one vehicle that will let you get the flag that you need, and that happens to be the Jeep. So you come down here and select your Jeep. Now again, matchup playing this with 2 players, split screen. Oh my goodness, it becomes awesome. And this Jeep is crazy. It moves really, really fast, especially when it hits the road. And so you will blister your thumb doing that. I needed to clear out more. There we go. Needed to clear out more of the map, or the building rather, to go ahead and get it. And let's look at that. See, and there you go. That was the capture the flag, and then of course they go on and do a parade for you because you went ahead and won. All right, let me see. I know we're 12 minutes after. Let me just do one more. Man, I'm having so much fun playing through all these games. I haven't done them in so long. Let's see. What is another really good game to hit? Let's try one more. You know, we went ahead and did Doom. But let's go ahead and look at the precursor to that, of course, which is Castle Wolfenstein. And this one was an awesome version for home video game systems at the time. So let's go ahead and jump into that. Here we go. 3DO, not audio, not video, but 3DO. Isn't that right? Yeah, that's exactly right. It is a 3DO. And here we go. And of course they had Wing Commander, and I mean, all just really a pretty extensive library. So if you have any interest in video game history and those systems in the past, make sure you go check out the 3DO. It actually had a really good catalog of content. And there we go, the original 30 levels, or you can play Escape. Let's go bring him on, and yeah, let's go check out real quickly. This is the last game we'll be playing for the day today. This is Castle Wolfenstein 3D. So you can see frame rate holds up really well. It's got a great soundtrack that, of course, is all CD driven. And there we go. All of the voices are completely digitized. This may actually be one of the best versions that you can play. Again, because of the audio, because of the speed at which it moves. Really good. There we go. Gotta make sure I find some ammo here. Checking for any secrets. I don't know if they're any different in this version than in the PC version. Yeah, but again, you know, you're playing this game, there's that bombastic CD audio. Nope, not there. There's that one. Let's get into here. Yeah, I hate that is the one thing I didn't like about this. Oh. Who's getting me there? Anybody find me there? No. Alright, let's see. Gnarly. Alright, I got all those. There's one of the secret rooms. Yeah, there we go. Alright. So now, how do I change through these? I don't yet. Alright. Alright. Let's go. This room here. Let's get back. That's when I just came from. Yeah. Also, I'm terrible with directions, right? So these types of games always a bit more difficult for me. Alright, let's head right back into the big room. Right, and there should be some jerk hiding down one of these corridors here. No, of course, it's the other one, right? Because I'm back to it. And that should be a secret room. There we go. Got that machine gun. And here we go. And let's go. That. Who's behind? Oh, there he is. What are you doing, punk? All right, got that one. Boom. Is it this one? No. Is it this one? Yeah, so Castle Wolfenstein. Now, really faithful recreation of this classic game that really set the entire first-person shooter genre in motion. So yeah, so that is the mighty 3DO. Just a fantastic system that was really cemented in that era with a pretty incredible library of games, actually. And one that if you have any interest in the history of video games, make sure you go ahead and check out, because ton of fun to go ahead and play. Yeah, and so that's it. So that wraps up this Friday afternoon episode of Rewind. So yeah, again, so I want to thank you all for coming and hanging out with me, and thanks for all the comments there, Jetman81, Justin Ark. I do appreciate your engagement there on the feed today. Also, I don't know exactly why it said random play, so people thought that was just a random play and not the 3DO episode that I had been promoting. So I'm gonna have to go back and fix that and make sure that that doesn't happen for the next episode. But again, thanks so much for hanging out with me this afternoon. And remember, if you are a game developer from indies to AAA, make sure you head on over to aws.amazon.com/GameTech to find out how AWS can help you in your cloud game development journey. And I also want to give a special shout out and thanks to Waterflame for the use of his music here on Rewind. Make sure you go ahead and check out all of his music catalog on YouTube at Waterflame Music. And of course, if you care about the history of video games as much as I do, make sure you head on over to gamehistory.org to check out the incredible work that the Video Game History Foundation is doing. I happen to be a founding board member of this 501c3 organization, and they are doing an incredible amount of work to go ahead and preserve the history of video games for future generations. Thank you so much again for hanging out with me today. I hope you have an awesome rest of your day, an incredible weekend, and we'll see you next time on Rewind.